Hi guys, my name is Jess and this is my very first video blog post. I have been publishing a blog called Jess's Book Nook for a little over a year now. My blog is set out to share my thoughts, opinions, and feelings on books with all of you. I don't do detailed reviews, and that's just because I don't want to give anything away. I hate spoilers, and that is never my intention. So if you are ever reading one of my posts, you'll notice that I tend to skim things a little bit. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm more than willing to tell you a more detailed opinion. I just don't want to ruin it for anybody else. So the reason why I'm doing a video blog is just it's something new for me. It's a way to reach out to a new audience, get some more viewers, share my thoughts and opinions on some of my favorite books with all of you. So today what I want to do is talk to you about two books. It's definitely easier to talk about the books than trying to write two posts. When I write a blog post, sometimes I fly through them and have them posted within minutes. Other times it takes me days because I don't know how to word what I want to say. When you're talking about books, it can get a little overwhelming, just in terms of wanting to do the book justice if you really liked it, or wanting to explain it in the right way without giving too much personal opinion on it, I guess. You don't want to counteract anybody's ideas of what the book's going to do for them. Everyone's different, so how you read a book isn't going to be the same. So I'm kind of a mediator a lot of the times, so that's kind of my take on how to share books. So the first book that I want to share with all of you guys today is John Green's An Abundance of Katherine's. Most people probably know John Green for The Fault in Our Stars. It was the first book by him that I read. I'm sure it's the first book by him that a lot of people are going to start reading just because it's so popular right now. After I read The Fault in Our Stars, I was heartbroken. For those of you that have already read the book or seen the movie, you know exactly what I mean. I'm not going to give anything away for those that haven't read it yet. If you haven't read it, you need to. It's so heartfelt in the best ways. But we're not talking about that book today. I do have a post on the blog if you want to check it out. The reason why I want to share An Abundance of Katherine's with you is that it's a different type of story. As I feel like most of John Green's books are. It's about a young boy who has just graduated from high school and has been dumped for the 19th time by a girl named Katherine. So it adds kind of a comedic aspect to the dumping. Throughout the book, we're introduced to who the Katherines are and how Colin came to know them. And he and his best friend Hassan go on a road trip to kind of help mend Colin's broken heart. And they end up in the middle of nowhere in Gutshot, Tennessee, and their whole lives kind of get flipped over. And it gets a little bit predictable at times, but it's funny and it's heartwarming, and it pulls you into the story in such an organic and natural way that you either have been that person or you know somebody that is that person. So for those reasons alone, the book is great. And even though, yes, it can be a little predictable, it's a book you fly through. It's quick and easy read. It's a great summer read. There's nothing wrong with predictability. It's definitely nice to be left wondering, to have a mystery aspect to a story, but there are instances where predictability is kind of a good thing because you're rooting for that to happen, and if it didn't, you'd probably be pretty upset. So for An Abundance of Katherine's, I think it's a story anyone can get into. There are parts where you want to jump through the pages and be like, what are you thinking? And there are other times where you're laughing hysterically because it's just so outrageous that someone can date 19 Catherines. Um, so yeah, I definitely recommend the book. I will warn you, there are quite a few footnotes. They add to the character aspect of Colin, so they're necessary, but a little bit over exaggerated at times. But yeah, I think that it's one of those stories that just kind of works its way into your life, whether you want it to or not, if you're reading it. Um, the awkwardness of it is so natural. I remember being in high school and having moments just like theirs and having friends that had those exact same issues. So it's a story that anybody will enjoy in that sense. Um, but yeah, it's just different. It's not the same as The Fault in Our Stars, so I don't want anyone to get those impressions. It's just a different kind of story. The fact that it's from a young guy's point of view who's been dumped as opposed to the girl who's been dumped definitely adds a bit of a twist to it as well. So I think you guys will really enjoy it. The other one that I want to talk to you guys about is Kass Morgan's The 100. I actually watched the show first. Usually doesn't happen for me. I'm usually definitely all about the book first. But when I was watching the show, I didn't know that it was based off of a book at first, which is kind of surprising. But anyways, the first season, I watched it on Netflix very quickly. There's only about 13 episodes, I think. So I flew through it and I loved it. It was great. They definitely changed a lot. When I read the book in a day. Again, very good. But they're not the same at all. Um, I was telling a friend about it and she said, you get two for the price of one. And it is very, very true. The backstory is very similar. Earth has had a nuclear fallout and racked by radiation. So people have left. They're living in space. Typical futuristic type deal. And it's been a few hundred years or something. And the ship is dying. So they need to do something about it. And they decide that they're going to send 100 juvenile delinquents to Earth as a way to see if the world is still habitable or if it's livable. And that's where the stories kind of separate. After that, there are character differences and storyline changes and new characters and different characters all around. So without giving anything away, it doesn't seem to matter which one you watch or read first. You're going to get two different stories. The book focuses on Clark as the main character as well as the show. But what the book does differently is it separates the chapters with characters. So each chapter is a new character or one of so many characters. And one of the things that I liked about the book that was different was that they focused on a girl named Glass and her boyfriend Luke. And it's because they focus on them outside of the 100 that have gone to Earth, you see a different side of the story that way. You see what's happening on the ship and why they sent them to Earth and what's going to happen to people that are poor versus people that are rich. And it's just, you see a lifestyle difference that the show doesn't really offer you in the same sense. The show makes reference to things, but you don't really understand the detailed aspects of it that the book give you. But then again, Bellamy, for instance, is literally two different characters. In the book, he's one guy. In the show, he's another guy. The show talks about characters like Finn and Raven, and they haven't been introduced yet, or they don't exist. So I don't want to give it away. But the show is very different, and because it's only book 1 and book 2 hasn't been launched yet, I don't know if maybe they took a twist that was different that sense, but I'm excited. I'm excited for season 2 of the show, and I'm excited for book 2 of the series. So for that, I definitely think people will love it. Like I said, I read the book in a day, and I couldn't put it down. I bought it at Chapters, and I sat down in the mall and I started reading, and by the end of the evening when I went to bed, it was done. It's only happened a few times, so pretty good book. Uh, Definitely recommend it for you guys. It's again one of those stories that pulls you into the characters, and I felt like I was there watching what was happening, and I was on the ship with them when everything's going on. So the writing style is just fabulous. The character development is so well orchestrated that you don't even realize it's happening. It's not boring. It's not garbage that you have to read because you need it to know who somebody is. It's so flawless and organic that once the book was over, I was aching for more. I couldn't believe that it was done and that I had to wait until September or October for the next book. So I highly recommend The 100. I liked it better than In Abundance of Katherine's. Totally different story, but from a personal perspective of how it made me feel and pulling me into the story, The 100 did a much better job of that. But definitely recommend both books to you guys. So you can make your own decisions that way. Well, that is it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching, for checking out my very first video blog. If you have any opinions or thoughts or questions about either book, or have suggestions for me, I am all ears. And also let me know how I did with the video blog, because if it's awful, I don't have to do it again. Thanks again, guys. Until next time.